Hello everyone, my name is Moses and you're welcome to Stable Rock Farms. On today's episode we are going to be discussing our Egusi. So we have finally harvested our Egusi and we are in the finishing process of getting it ready for the market. So I just want to go over everything that we have done, how we did it, what lessons were learned, and how we'll improve on it for the next season. So thank you for watching, and we hope you enjoy this video.
Here you can see our tractor is tilling the soil so that we'll be able to plant our melon or egusi. So all that you see here is the tractor work. Unfortunately, we forgot to record as the egusi was being planted, but here you have your egusi germinated. This is about 2 to 3 weeks old melon. You can see it was planted and herbicide was applied. This was just a paraquat herbicide just to kill the weeds that were on the farm. At this point you can see our Agushi our melon is looking really well, although you will also notice that there's emergence of weed in the farm. So we decided that it was time to apply post-emergent herbicide, and we went with Gallant Super. So Gallant Super was applied on the farm at this stage, so that there will be less competition of weeds with our melon, with our wild melon, with our egusi. So at this point, this is basically what happened here. You can see there's emergence of weed here. Over here you will notice there's less weeds and there's lots of egusi on the farm. So at this point you're looking at probably 2 months and a week or so. The egusi is looking good, and here was after about, I think this was around 3 months, we went to the farm and we noticed that we already had egusi rotting. So we had to act fast. So we decided it was time to start harvesting our egusi, and this is where the real work began, because there was lots of waste on the farm, because we had to go and find all the rotten ones to pack. So this was a lot of work, but yeah, that's what happened at this stage. So after we had packed the rotten egusi, we started gathering all the ripe egusi that was ready for harvesting. So this is what basically happened at this point. All the egusi was gathered to one point. We kept gathering in rows because we wanted to use the land immediately for our next planting. So that's what we did here. As you can see, this is one long row. So we had different rows like this that were long, where the egusi was gathered. Here we were ready to start work, to start puncturing holes into our egusi so that it can rot properly. So we gathered this egusi into different piles so that different people can come and work on the field. So this is why this is what you see here: our gathered egusi ready for puncturing. So again, this is all over the farm. As you walk by, you will see Egusi gathered in different, at different strategic points on the farm. Now the holes are being punctured in the Egusi, and the idea is to help the Egusi rot fast so that the seeds can be removed from the Egusi. So all those piles you saw in the previous cut, here you see people puncturing holes in the Egusi, and this will be left for a few days, about a week, and this, once you leave it for about a week, it will rot properly, and then you just come and then scoop all of the seeds from the Egusi. It makes your work much easier to do. So again, because of the size of the farm, the puncturing itself was also a lot of work. So you had people in different sections of the farm, with their sole job being puncturing of these holes, as you see in this video. So yeah, just everywhere, people puncturing. I think we should just move on to the next cut. Here the removal process has begun. So all the Egusi that were punctured in the previous video, as you can see here, have rotten to a satisfactory level where you just open it up and scoop out the seeds from the Egusi. So if you leave it to rot properly, as you can see here, it's very easy to just open and then squeeze out the seeds. It reduces the workload had it not been punctured and left for a few days to rot. So that's what's happening here. So after the removal of the seeds from the Egusi, next is to clean it up. So you can see all of the scooped Egusi being put into sacks so that they can be taken for the washing process. So here are all the scooped Egusi put in sacks. So all of these sacks are going to be taken to one of the streams on our farm so that they can be washed. So you can see them on the sacks. And in the baskets, these are all the Egusi that they are just yet to be washed. After they have been washed, you will see that it's the seeds will become much cleaner than they currently look. So you can see sacks everywhere. So we can just move on to the next cut. More sacks everywhere. So yeah, let's move on to the next one. So here the local workers have all brought their sacks so that the washing process can begin. We try to hire the locals so that they can be able to get work and tend to their families. So that's what you see here. Most of these people here come with their families so that they work in bulk and make more money for the family. So that's what you see. Here the washing process has begun. So this is how the egusi that has been harvested is usually washed. So this is cleaned properly so that not much work is needed to be done later before it's bagged. But what you see here is the washing process. After a long day of work, you can see the staff are tired and they're ready to be paid so that they can go home. So this will happen every day until all of the egusi has been fully harvested. So depending on the size of your farm, you can do this in 1 day or a week or 2 weeks. So yeah. So we forgot to get a picture or video of drying the egusi, but after it has been dried, next is to make sure you clear it of all the impurities so that it's very clean. You want to sell a very clean egusi to your customers, so remove any other dirt so that your egusi looks clean like this. Once it's clean like this, you're comfortable to bag it into the final sacks that will then be sold to your consumers. So you can see we had a very good harvest. We still have some more egusi inside the store here. So very good year for us, very good year. So now we are going to look at the key lessons learned during this project. You know, for whatever venture you are getting into, you need to make sure you document it properly so that you are able to learn from it and do better next time. So that's the final part of this video is what we're going to talk about now. So what are some of the key lessons learned during this Egusi project? Point number one, have proper records. Keeping proper records ensures you know what you're doing, ensures you know whether you had a good yield or not, ensures you know how to plan better, where to plug some leakages and things like that. So having proper records is key for any project, not just this particular one. The second one is to ensure that as much as possible you contract local workers, local farmers to work on your farm. The reason I say this is because the locals who live within that vicinity will feel like they have a stake in your project, so they do a better job for it, right? If you contract them and they feel like this is also their farm, they'll protect it for you. You're not always going to be on your farm. You know, whenever you're not in the farm, they look after it, they call you should any problem arise and things like that. So it's very key to involve them as much as possible when you need some contract staff. The third point, obviously, and also something to just add on to that is that you're helping them make a living too, right? So it's a win-win situation. Then the third point is that the herbicide you're going to apply, the post-emergent herbicide you're going to apply is most likely not going to kill broadleaves. So if your farm has a notorious broadleaf weed infestation, you have to find another strategy that will tackle that. Next point is to plant on time. Yes, very key point. For those who are in Nigeria, you know that we'll mostly have two seasons, the dry season and the rainy season, right? And then specifically in Taraba State, where I am, the rains come around April, May. So if you plant on time, let's say in April or May, you're going to harvest on time. That's around July or August.
Now, if you harvest on time, it gives you enough room to be able to plant another crop on your farm. That way, you are able to plant more than one crop, at least 2 crops per year on your farm. You are able to better utilize your farm if you do it that way. So planting early is very key. Another reason why you should plant early is because by the time you are harvesting, you don't want to harvest your egusi too deep during the rainy season, because it's going to be a challenge being able to sun dry your egusi. You need to be able to get long hours of the day where the sun shines, where you'll be able to dry your wild melon, right? So planting early ensures you are able to do that. Then the next point is to harvest early. If you watched the previous cuts in the video I just made, you'll notice that we did not harvest our egusi on time, and because of that, we had some of our egusi being rotten on the farm. So now that becomes a challenge, because especially for our farm, where it's a huge farm, now it becomes a challenge because you have to go around the whole farm to pick these rotten seeds that poured back into the soil. It's a lot of work. It's time consuming, it's energy consuming, it's financially draining, because you have to get extra hands to be able to do that. So harvesting on time is very, very key. Now the next point is that after you have gathered your melon and you are ready to puncture it, if you remember the point where holes were being punctured in the egusi, make sure that you puncture the holes correctly. Now there are 2 ways of doing it wrong. If you puncture it if the holes are too small, once it starts drying up, it's going to close. Now that is going to make it take a longer period for the egusi to get rotten enough for you to come and scoop out the seeds. That's the first wrong way of doing it, making the holes too small. The other way of doing it wrong is breaking the egusi. Maybe you carry a log of wood or something and hit it on the egusi to break it. Now, why is this bad? This is bad because once it starts drying, the liquid, the fluids in the egusi will gush out, and this will mean that before the egusi rots, the liquid will leave the egusi, so the seeds will stick to the egusi. So when you come to scoop it out, it is very difficult to be able to scoop it. However, if you puncture the holes correctly, big enough for it to rot well and not too big that the liquid leaks out, it's going to rot properly. And then once you come and you open the egusi and you try to scoop out the seeds, it's easy to scoop out, just like you saw in the earlier video. So correct puncturing is very key. If you notice, I spent a lot of time explaining that because it's very, very key. Now what else can we discuss? Early, yep, have a foolproof storage system in place. Especially if you are doing this on a large scale, you need to be able to store it somewhere, right? You need to be able to keep it for a while before you sell. So having a storage system, I mean, for any type of crop, storage system is very key. That's what many farmers have noticed. For the little consultancy I do, I've noticed that many of the farmers don't have a storage system in place, and it becomes a challenge when the time comes. I would say these are the main points to look out for in the lessons learned. So the reason why it took about 7-8 minutes, almost 10 minutes to talk about lessons learned, is because this is very key, especially for you watching this. If this is your first time, if you are deciding to go into egusi farming, it's very key for you to jot down these lessons, because these are things you learn on the job.
So if you are able to know them firsthand, even before going into it, it just makes the work so much easier for you. So I'll say that's about it. Thank you very much for watching. We hope that you subscribe so that we can dish out more videos like this for you, for crops, for livestock, for processing. We have so many things coming up, and we are going to be very excited rolling them out, and we hope that you are involved as we carry along. And thank you. See you very soon.